Welcome to the H12 Prep Baseball Report. I'm Ramon Scott, and I'm joined by Dave Dickens of EastCountySports.com. And Dave, we brought in the man from the Grossmont Foothillers, Jack Hyde, the pitcher who has led these Foothillers not only to a championship last year, but a pretty great start this year, 7 wins so far. And we're just getting the league started this week. We're going to try to avoid the raindrops to see my Highlanders and these Foothillers go at it tomorrow. Hope we get it in, but if not, they're going to have 4 games this season, 4 games against the Eagles, 4 games against the Sultans. We talked about it last week, how awesome this Hills League is going to be, and we have some big news already coming out of the Hills League we'll touch on in just a moment. But Dave, here he is, the man ticketed for USD, our top pitcher in the East County, Jack Hyde.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's the year you had this year. I mean, we thought you had such a phenomenal year last year, and then the championship game was great, and then to just start off, it's like you never left the field. I mean, in reality, I mean, you mentioned earlier that your slider's been working for you, your fastball, and you've been telling me in these last few games the same thing. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, thank you for the compliment. And you know, I've just been trying to perfect my craft ever since championship game. I didn't want to lose a single step, and I just kept trying to work, and no days off. And I just kept trying to make every pitch better and leave off where I was from last year. Hopefully, get some wins for the team.
Yeah, Dave, I'm going to need a microscope to see Jack's ERA right now. We talked about the great year last year, but how about a 3-1 start with a .3 ERA so far in his first 4 starts, striking out 30 over 23 innings. And Jack, the Hillers defeated Cathedral Catholic 9-2 in a game played at Granite Hills last week to win, if you will, Dave, the Bill Dickens bracket of the Grossmont Metro City tournament. Jack, a tournament win, not a bad way to start the season, get rolling into league.
Yeah, we hadn't won any tournaments in the last few years, so to get a tournament win this early in the season feels really good.
Yeah, Zach Ferris had 3 RBI in that one for the Dons, and you and Drew Shervanian have made a great combo so far. I mean, if anything, look how much Drew's game has stepped up on the mound. He was already looking pretty strong last year and made a big contribution to the team, but right now the 1-2 punch that you guys have, and also Jaden Wilcox, talk about a newcomer. You guys got to be grooming him along. You see something there, and you know he can contribute to this important league race.
Yeah, well, we knew Drew was really good last year. There's just a few things missing, but it's finally clicked for him, and he's really shown himself to be an exceptional pitcher this year. And Jaden, we've got a lot of young talent this year, and Jaden's just the top of the cream of the crop, you know. And he's just shown what he can do, and that he can compete at the varsity level.
Dave, the way the Hills League is structured this year with the 3-game series, it being played in 1 week, every team's going to need a 3rd pitcher, and I think that these guys know that, and you're going to have that 3rd and even 4th pitcher come along, even deeper than that, the way these league games are going to go this year.
Yeah, they definitely, I mean, the first 3, though, are going to be pretty tough to beat with our man here and Gervanian, and then, as we mentioned with Jaden, now we just need to find a 4th one, and that's going to back you guys up, or maybe you're going to have to go 2 games.
No, we got some depth. You'd be surprised. We've got a lot of talent pitching. We've got a lot of talent hitting. We're a very good team, and we just got to, you know, once we put our minds to it and we go out there and compete, it's going to be really tough to beat us.
Dave, a team ERA right now of 1.49. So you're going to have to beat the Hillers pitching first, and then the hitting can take care of itself. But yeah, they've got some hitters on this team. Jack, we talked about the Cathedral Catholic Dons and the win, but you faced them earlier this year and pitched a 2-hitter against them. And someone mentioned to me, oh man, I saw that, and that was Jack's best performance of his career. And I said, hold it a minute. Last year, Jack pitched a no-hitter against then number 3 ranked in the country, Bishop Gorman. And he said, no, you don't understand, Ramon. He said, I saw that game as well, and Jack's stuff was actually better against the Dons than it was against Bishop Gorman. Jack, how is that possible?
Well, like I said, I've been working a lot. I've got some increased velocity this year, and my slider, it's gotten a lot sharper, and it's coming in harder. So it's definitely better than last year. It's surprising. I was only using those two pitches mainly to pitch against the Dons, which is why it seems like it was better, which it was. My stuff was better, but I was using 3 pitches against the Bishop Norman team, and which is why I was able to keep them so off balance. But yeah, overall, definite improvements on my stuff from last year.
And how is it to work? This is a second year. Came over at head coach, longtime head coach from Monte Vista, Matt Atkinson, and to be working with such an elite pitching staff, or on his end, an elite guy a pitching coach like that. I'm sure he's one of the best in the Hills.
Yeah, him and Bill Reed. We've actually got a very large coaching staff this year. We've got like 5 or 6 coaches, and all the knowledge it's sometimes overwhelming, but it's pretty great, to learn from some of the guys that have so much experience and had such great careers.
Well, Jack, a lot's been made, and I think people can't refer to Jack Hyde without mentioning the University of San Diego and seeing you out on that mound last year in the championship game. I brought it up. I said, Jack, you're already kind of given folks over here at Alcala Park a preview of what they're going to see, but you got so much business at hand here. Still, you got to be looking forward to getting over there with Coach Hill and continuing your career after this, especially seeing the success that's continuing over there with the Toreros.
Yes, absolutely. I've met all the guys. I met all the coaches. I love every one of them. There was a good connection. I love the location. I love the school. It was just like a perfect fit.
Yeah, Jackson looked really good in that Torero blue.
But at the same time, how much are you going to be missing playing on that Marshall Field? And I mean, you've had so many great games that you played on that Hiller Field, and then to make the switch, I'm sure that's going to be pretty tough, and leaving your guys behind, some of your youngsters that you're leaving behind.
Well, I'll definitely be coming back to say hi to the guys. Hopefully it won't become nostalgia too fast.
That is a perfect way to put it. And no doubt the business at hand, they won the Division I championship last year. I'm sure I think the encouraging thing about the situation is everybody in the county's got losses. Nobody can look and say, look, we've got 4 losses so far. Because every team is knocking off each other, and we talked about how it is with all these elite baseball teams almost playing a league of their own, all the top teams in the county. And I'll mention right now, we're going to get right into it, start talking about the teams. Maybe with these Grossmont Foothillers, the highest ranked team in the East County in this week's media poll. They're ranked 6th in the county, and we talked about playing the Helix Highlanders this week. But Jack, the Grossmont Hills circuit, the 4 teams this year, the 4-game series, going to be very interesting. Many of the games will be determined over those 3-game sets. The Hillers likely moved ahead of the Scotties as the circuit's preseason favorite. Helix was ranked number 1 in the county before the season started, but they took the losses early, allowed Grossmont, Granite Hills, moved right into the top 10. Helix got a vote or 2 this week. Jack, the Foothillers lost a few offensive standouts to graduation. We know some of the impact that Tyler Parent and Jesse Garcia had on this team, but you got a new set of outstanding hitters to go with that. Guys like Junior Gio Gigante, he's ticketed for St. Mary's. You're going to be seeing him down the line. Tell me about some of the hitters picking up the slack.
Sophomore Isaiah Gomez is really shining right now as a young talent. Brody Romero, he's tearing it up right now. I think he's batting like 460, and all the guys, Keone Valdez, Zach Ferris, we've got a really deep lineup. We've got a lot of talent, and if we're on, it's going to be really tough to keep our lineup down.
Dave, we talk about losing players, but all those are names you're familiar with too. I mean, those guys were part of the team last year and stroking.
Yeah, Keone was doing the same type of thing last year. Saw him a few times live, and let's not forget the defense that the Hillers have out there too, and the sure-handedness that not committing very many errors either.
Yeah, and I just want to mention one other name. kind of a unfortunate story. Max Ford, who really got off to a hot start. We were so excited about his contribution, Jack, because he'd been missing in action for about a year and a half with that terrible knee injury suffered in football, and we missed his action. I know the Foothillers missed him on the football field, that's for sure, but you guys missed him on the baseball field as well, and he came back, hit 3 home runs early. The Hillers need some power, but now Max has been injured again. Re-injured possibly that knee, and we just want you to feel better, Max. We hope you can get back, but boy, he was off to such a great start, and sure he's a buddy of all your guys on the team, and made you a little bit disappointed, a little bit sad.
Yeah, we got a really tight camaraderie on the team, and it's tough losing a player, especially as talented as Max is. You know, he's coming back just as good as he was sophomore year, an all-CIF outfielder, and but it is tough to lose him, especially you know, early in the season. But we hopefully he can make a recovery and be back to help us. So get well soon, Max.
All right, we're gonna keep Jack here and talk about some of these teams, especially in the Hills League, that he's been familiar with. I mean, they've had so many incredible games already over the last year. But the Helix Highlanders, they're gonna get ready possibly for that matchup, and then the 3-game set with these Grossmont Foothillers. Helix head coach Cole Holland, in his 18th season, picked up his 300th career victory this past week, and the Highlanders, they did pick up a few votes, as we mentioned, for the county top 10 after going 3-0 and improving to 500. Carlos Okita homered in a win over Madison, and Adam Martinez had a walk-off single in the 9th inning as Helix beat Scripps Ranch 4-3. Dave, can Helix give these guys a run and the Eagles a run, or they slip too much?
I actually think they're on the up and up now, as, I mean, they did have quite a few early season losses, but Cole getting the 300th win of the season, not just that, but as talking with Eric Smelko, he was telling me that ever since he's been on the show, that they've won every single game. But yeah, Eric has done a fine job. He's been smacking the ball around quite well. I mean, he's not hitting for power, but he's definitely connecting with every pitch. And I know he's given you a hard time over the years. Yes. But I think that, you know, Helix, they were waiting for that big hit, and they've been getting those big hits now. And, you know, having the skipper like Cole Holland that's very familiar with the Hillers definitely prepares them for battle.
Jack, I'm sure you've got a scouting report for us on the Highlanders bats, and also you've got to be impressed a little bit with their pitching as well. Thomas Kennedy and Alonzo Richardson now is pitching as well. So what's everybody think over there at Grossmont about those Highlanders?
Oh, well, it's a tough rivalry to be sure. Every time we play each other, regardless of how good we've been doing in the season, it's always going to be a battle. Rankings thrown out the window. It's just always going to be a tight game until the very last inning with those guys, especially with all the talent that they have.
Well, more talent over in El Cajon. Let's talk more about the Granite Hills Eagles, Dave. The Eagles are 7-4, but they had their 7-game win streak snapped with a pair of losses to Cathedral and Saints last week. The Eagles were ranked 7th in the county before last week's skid. They've fallen to 9th in the poll, but can we really discern any of these Hills Leagues teams at this point, Dave?
Absolutely not. And you know, James, he always, when he's talking about his teams, he says that they're young and they're up and coming, but he's not ready to establish them as all-stars or anything yet. But deep down, I think that's just a cover-up that he has. That's my personal opinion, but James has always got his players ready and coached up well. He got a new pitcher in young Austin Smith. He's been great on the mound and also hit pretty well. A couple games ago, he was 3 for 3, so a hitting pitcher. That adds to the pitching staff. I mean, because they lost Hazelhurst, so yeah. He has been mentioned to be early, somewhat in that category. So to replace somebody like that in Hazelhurst is doing well at Grossmont College, we might add, as of late. But
great week last
yeah,
week.
I mean, we got great pitching, young pitching, and definitely been smacking the ball around. So I would definitely say that Granite Hills is not lacking anywhere. And again, the sure-handedness defensively too. So I think that we can't count them out at all either. They're going to make a run for the title.
Jack, they've got Clay Fordham leading that pitching staff, son of a former major leaguer. What about the Eagles?
Just like Helix, they're exceptional. You know, everyone in our league is just really, really good, and it's one of the tougher leagues I think in Southern California. And I'd put any one of them against any team anywhere. So, great pitching, great hitting. They're always gonna be scrappy. They're gonna put up a fight no matter who's on the mound and no matter what circumstances. So, it's always fun to play against such good teams like them too.
I'm going to ask him to comment on one more, and this is our breaking news. The first place team in the Grossmont Hills League, the Santana Sultans. They beat the Granite Hills Eagles on Tuesday in impressive fashion, I might add, 9-4. And Brandon Glowacki had a home run in that one, Dave, and Santana got off to the 1-0 start. The Sultans are 6-5 overall, but I was going to mention Santana's week last week, beating 8th-ranked Madison behind sophomore pitcher Tyler Glowacki, and Blake Taylor beat the Cathedral Catholic Dons a day later, but I can't get over this start to the season. The Sultans are in first place.
Yeah, and those Glowacki brothers, I gotta say, they're very sure of themselves as well. I've spoken to both of them. They love playing on the same field together. They gel so well, and as we were talking before the show, you got all that coaching experience as well with Steve Vickery and Mark Noble that have been around the East County for at least 40 years.
They always put up a fight last year. I remember barely beating them by like 1 run each time. We always had really, really tight battles. They're just like us, you know, young talent. Like you just said, their pitching is doing really well. And, you know, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. This is a very tough league.
It's funny, Dave, you can maybe, if you don't win the league, you can just go on and win the CIF championship. That's how good we are out in the Grossmont Hills League in the East County.
I think that everybody, you know, they speak so highly of these North County teams and how great they are. But as Jack had mentioned before, I would take our Hills League against a lot of those any day.
Well, we'll see. Like I said, everyone's knocking each other off. Let's go to our other teams down in the Valley League. Maybe we'll get Jack to comment on a few of these teams, especially some of the top performances. And I got one for you right away, Dave. The great pitching performance on Monday by Steel Canyon senior Brad Barkley. Dave, Brad was 1 out away from a no-hitter. And the batter swung at a high pitch and chopped it over the mound, and it bounced through the infield. One of those Baltimore chop hoppers that got through and broke up the no-hitter with 2 outs in the 7th inning, but still a great performance as the Cougars beat Castle Park 7-0 behind the one-hitter from Barkley. They moved to 5-5. Billy Tellis also hit his third home run of the year, so he drove in 3 runs in Saturday's win over Del Norte in the Hilltop Tournament. And we talked about the other Cougars senior pitchers, Richie Pedrin, Jack Schlotman, and Jonathan Kenny, Dave, and now they got a 4th one.
Yeah, I just think that, I mean, and they got a great pitching staff, but I want to focus back on how Billy Tellis has been there. I mean, he's a senior now, and he's swinging a mean bat. And I talked to him last night, and he says he dedicates most of it to all that time with the good lighting they have now. They can go into the cages after the game, after practice, and they're just all working really hard. Coach Jesse Evans and Mark Bruder, they just have them working really hard, and the kids are going for it too. They really want to win, and a good leader like Tellis is leading the way.
I've played with Billy for many years, and I know exactly how good he is. He used to launch balls off me when I was younger, so he's a very, very good hitter.
It's a matchup I'd like to see. I guess, unfortunately, we won't get to see it. Let's break some more news right now, Dave. The Mount Miguel Matadors defeated the Valhalla Norsemen on Tuesday to take the lead in the Grossmont Valley League. Dave, great job today by the Matadors. I want to mention Thomas Ringer pitching in that one, doing a great job, and just a great performance by Mount Miguel in that game against Valhalla.
Yeah, you know, and as we all know, that Valhalla was definitely the favorite. Valhalla is the favorite to win that league. So for somebody like Mount Miguel that has had a bit of a struggle, especially in scoring runs to outscore the Norsemen and also keep them at bay. But they have had the pitching. Mount Miguel has had the pitching. They had it last year. The Camacho brothers have been definitely the aces that Coach Coit goes with, and Nico's been taking care of business as well as Mike. So, yeah, congratulations to the Matadors to be 1-0. I mean, I can't wait to talk to Frank tonight. He lost a tough one to Lincoln that they led in the whole time last week, and he wasn't too happy, and he said that he talked to his team and he really gave him a talking to, and we see the results after getting the talking to and some extra practice time. And they were supposed to, for the first time, they were going to wear their grays today too, so that might have had something to do with it as well. They hadn't worn their grays the whole season. So
I mentioned Trevor Darby. He had the big hit in that one, broke the 3-3 tie with a couple of RBIs, and Nico did start the game, and Ringer came in to close it out. He pitched 2 innings, so great job. You mentioned the loss to that game, but also I want to mention Mount Miguel, though they did bounce back and rocked Hoover. Ringer had 4 hits in that one, and 4 RBI included was a pair of doubles, and J.D. Laverdier had 3 runs batted in. Nico Camacho struck out 12 over 6 innings. I think Nico might give Jack a run for his money this year as being the local strikeout champion.
Absolutely. Nico's money when he gets on the hill, too. I was fortunate to see them against Morse, and although they did lose to Morse, he wanted to limit the pitching, so they did when they did play Hoover, which it worked out per plan. So he was limiting both Michael and Nico to 30 pitches each. But when he was on the hill, he had quite a few strikeouts. So it was definitely proved to be a good move. And although they lost to Morris, they put on a pretty good performance pitching-wise and defense-wise. Just couldn't get those bats going. So hopefully, after this big win over Valhalla, they show that, you know what, they are a team that you better not take too lightly.
Well, this changes at least the narrative right now for the Matadors. They might come running in here. We're at Mount Miguel right now. They might come running in here, take over our show to talk about this win.
Yeah.
Dave will touch on Valhalla real quick since we're on them. They were off to the best preseason start of any East County team. They've fallen into a little bit of a tailspin now, but Anthony Young picked up a win over La Jolla last Wednesday, allowing no earned runs over 5 frames with 6 strikeouts. How about the hottest team right now in the East County? Other than Mount Miguel, we're talking about the Monte Vista Monarchs. They may be 5 wins in their last 6 games. The Monarchs defeated Foothills Christian on Monday in an East County matchup, 11-3. They won 2 of 3 games last week. I want to mention sophomore David Vega. Yeah, Vega went 6 innings in his first varsity start, and Andy Canedo, red hot, he drove in 3 runs, and Monarch Jr. Abraham Sanchez, another great arm out here in the East County, he pitched 5 scoreless innings in a 9-1 win over Sweetwater last Thursday. What's Coach New saying to you about his hot Monarchs?
You know, he said that he's been working for 5 years out of Monte Vista, putting together a pretty good team, and he started with a lot of youngsters, and it's really proven the work that he's put in over there since he's taken over. You know, Monte Vista is definitely somebody to not overlook. He's got the pitching, he's got the hitting. I think he's got a well-oiled machine, and I think Valhalla and Steel better look out because I think the Monarchs are looking to steal that title.
The El Capitan Vaqueros will face Cathedral Catholic on Thursday. They get the first official league bye, if you will. The Vaqueros won their first 2 ball games of the season last week, beating Christian, and following that up with a win over Point Loma as Jake Fitzner, the man who could hit him from downtown, well, he hit one downtown this time, turned that 3-point jumper into a home run. He tied the game in a 5-run 3rd inning with a 3-run shot, and Wes Buckner drove in the decisive runs. Connor Christ pitched a complete game, and he struck out 8. El Capitan, they've kind of turned it around all of a sudden.
Yeah, they have, and you know, last year they had kind of a down year. I think that, and they started off that way too this season. And looks like just like Jacob did with their basketball team, you know, he's helping them climb back up that hill, and El Capitan is going to compete as well.
Yeah, Jack, you remember anything about the Vaqueros? They played them last year, but they're moved in the other league now.
They were pretty good last year. It's a shame they got dropped out of the league down to the Valley League, but they were tough last year. I remember they had Blake Payton on the mound. It was always a challenge with him on the mound, throwing some pretty hard fastballs in there. But we managed to beat them twice, and those are some fun games.
The West Hills Wolfpack will open with the Monarchs this week for a 2-game set. The Pack have just one win before their losses have come by just one run. They're putting up 5.5 runs per game. I'll keep rolling here, Dave. The El Cajon Valley Braves beat Hoover 7-6 last Friday. Senior Aaron Rodriguez hit a go-ahead home run in the top of the 7th inning to support the complete game effort of senior Greg Sanchez. El Cajon will face Steel Canyon tomorrow and Friday in the home. Dave, West Hills, El Cajon, we got to get them going.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to see, especially El Cajon Valley. They've had their struggles in baseball, but they got a legendary base stealer though that's leading the team, and that's in Clifton. And I think that they're just in a rebuilding process, and he has a lot of youngsters to work with, and they lost, like Jesus Favela went to Grossmont College, but they do retain a couple with Greg Sanchez, which was actually pretty good on the mound last year for the Braves. And West Hills, Craig New from Monte Vista actually said it himself. He said West Hills is a very scrappy team though, and they're not going to take them too lightly, and that's who they have next. They have West Hills to start off league play.
Outside of the Grossmont Conference now, the Christian Patriots are off to a 5-6 start as they prepare for the rugged test of the powerful Western League starting today against Morse. No score came in on that yet, but the Patriots bounced back from that loss to El Cap and defeated Francis Parker and Montgomery in a pair of one-run games on the road before losing to Bonita Vista and former West Hills pitching coach Dave Palais in a GMC division title game on Saturday. So Braden Ross, the sophomore, 6 innings to get the win over Parker, a game-winning RBI in the 4th inning. And against Montgomery, Dave, you said Caleb Leonard may have earned a start with his excellent work out of the bullpen, and sure enough, Coach Mitchell gave him the start, and he went out and pitched a complete game to beat Montgomery. Junior Isaiah Owens had the game-winning RBI. Christian getting some momentum.
Yeah, they are, and along with Caleb, Alex Markowitz has been pretty good on the hill as well, and they've been pitching quite a few on it, but they really need to start focus on some of the hitting. But you got to remember they lost one of their key hard hitters, their power hitters, as did the Foothillers. They lost Trent Nielsen to Carlsbad. So losing a big bat like that definitely had a deep impact. So we're hoping for some more hitting and improved hitting. They do have the pitching, they have the fielding, young group of sophomores and juniors on that team. And so it's a rebuilding year, but I think Christian, they can make some noise.
We mentioned the Foothills Knights, Dave, and I know they are frustrated right now, and it's not going to get any easier in their league with the likes of undefeated Maranatha Christian, but the Knights will face Longmont, Colorado in a doubleheader right here at Mount Miguel on Saturday. The Mountain Empire Redhawks are having a heck of a time getting their season going. They went 0-2 on the field last week, including a 15-1 loss to Lemon Grove's Liberty Charter, but they did receive a forfeit win from troubled Borrego. Dave, I didn't mention last week, I really want to mention, I forgot, early in the season, Mountain Empire got that big win. They only had 8 players, and what happened? Coach asked his daughter, who's a great softball player, to step in and play in the varsity baseball game because they needed a 9th player. What happened? She got on base 3 times, and they won that game.
Absolutely. I tell you, if there's not a team that's scrappy and puts together a win like that, I'll tell you what, and they're overlooked as Mountain Empire, and because they're in D5 and because they're out there in Pine Valley. But the issue has been the weather and teams that don't show up for the game.
Twice now, teams can't show. Borrego Springs is having some problems getting their program, keeping it together right now. Liberty Charter has won 5 straight. Entering the week, they're 5-4-1 overall. They're averaging nearly 17 runs over those 5 victories. I got to mention the Lions. Freshman Isaiah Hilke got the complete game, 6-inning, 1-hitter over the Red Hawks. He's batting over 500 with 2 home runs and a .88 ERA, while junior teammate Elijah Duran is hitting .516, including a county high 20 stolen bases. Liberty has 77. So we talked about Valhalla having over 30 stolen bases already so far. Liberty Charter, they run over everybody. 77 stolen bases so far. You can't stop the running Lions of Liberty Charter. All right, Dave. Well, that's going to do it for us here at Mount Miguel High School. For Dave Dickens and Grosse Pointe Foothiller Senior Jack High, thank you for joining us. I'm Ramon Scott. See you next time.